It's the Spin Market Report. Here's your host, Peter Stockdale.
All right, I'm sitting down with Megan Anderson today, and I gotta say thanks to Mackenzie Schwenke, my awesome co-host, for the introduction there. Megan, how long have you been working at Spin Market?
Well, I've been here for probably a year and a half now. I just checked the other day, and it's flown by because I think last time I checked, I was only at a year, and it's just going by so fast. It's insane.
That's crazy. Have you worked here the whole time, or is that like a full-time, part-time, sometimes weekends? What are we talking?
Well, I started as an intern when I was going to school at Iowa Central, so I think for like the first 3 to 6 months, I was mostly interning here, and then I eventually kind of switched over to I worked here, and then I think it was mostly part-time that I was working. But yeah, I've been kind of full-time this summer since I've been back from school, so.
Yeah, you've been putting in a lot of hours. That's a lot of hours. You said you went to school at Iowa Central?
Yep, and now I'm going to UNI, so while I'm here for the summer, I'm able to kind of be in the office more, be more present, and be with everyone, which has been super nice. But yeah, and then when I'm at school, I work remotely.
So
cool.
So we hear that you have really awesome coworkers. Is that true?
Sometimes they can be a pain in the butt sometimes, but
This place is like an Iowa Central factory. You went to Iowa Central.
Yes, I did.
Caleb back behind the ones and twos, Iowa Central. Yeah, he's shaking his head. Yes, I went to Iowa Central. So holy cow. Yeah, this is awesome.
I think it's like 90% of people who work here went to Iowa Central.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
Seems like it. I mean, somebody that's here in this office taught at Iowa Central. So let's talk about that. How has your experience in a real life working actual workplace changed? Like, is that different than Iowa Central, or is it basically just same thing? You just brought all your skill sets here, or what's the biggest things that are different?
Oh, it's vastly different. So
Right.
when I was at Iowa Central, it was more just about learning the software and getting those book skills kind of locked in. But then working in an office where I was actually able to apply that skill set has been a great experience, because I feel like applying those skills to the real world it's just so much more beneficial after getting the skill set, of course, because you're interacting, you're developing those soft skills with clients, and I think that's my biggest takeaway as far as working at Spin Market has been.
Yeah, I mean, at school, a teacher or maybe like a classmate, but you don't really have clients that you have to work with,
I mean, we did a little bit. If a client kind of came in to talk to Jake and was like, I'm looking at doing a logo, depending on what it was, he would open it up to the whole class, and that was a project pretty much that we had to create a logo, and then obviously he graded us about the logo, but then the client got to choose one of those logos from that, because you had that happen too, right?
Right, yeah, and he kind of took control of the whole situation, and then kind of assigned us what the client wanted, and we might talk to them a little bit and just like as a whole collective class ask them questions, but for the most part he kind of administered the details of what the project was and how we were going to execute it. But I feel like working here has been so different because I have started to work one-on-one more with the clients, and when I first started, that was not even something that I thought of doing or kind of really wanted to do because it just seemed really scary. But then once I got into it, I was like, oh, this is not bad, and I kind of developed those soft skills and am excited to get better about it, and just, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the thing that, now that you kind of describe it, the thing that might be the most different about like going from school to here is at school, they're like, we're going to do a project. Here's your basic outline of what we're doing. We're going to use these things that I taught you this week. Friday, I want you to have this done or whatever. It's kind of the same here, but it's really open-ended, isn't it? For you guys, especially because somebody comes in, they might have an idea or maybe just part of one. And it's kind of up to you guys to decide what software we're going to use, or we're going to make a website, but what do we want to do with the website and what colors? And it's kind of all up to you guys interacting with the client to see what's going to mesh, right?
Yeah, and definitely. And I think that's also been a big part in kind of developing confidence as a graphic designer, because when you're in school, like you have a set guideline and it's all about being creative and creating art, where here you're working for a client and you're kind of trusting your own creative skills to hone in and get a piece that they would like based on what they prefer. But a lot of times it's very open-ended with clients too. They just they don't know exactly what they want, so you kind of have to use your skills to make it into something that they would want, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're kind of like in school, you're given the guidelines for like a logo, for instance, and exactly what he's wanting. Like, you know, you have to use this color type thing. But like in the actual workplace, you have to kind of create your guidelines based off of what the client gives you. So it's like another step added to what you're doing is to try to have those conversations with your client and to figure out what they're looking for. Even if they don't have ideas, it's starting off with, what do you like for colors?
Yeah.
Like basic stuff like that. Do you like a script font? Do you like a sans serif font? Like what's your go-to type of thing? And you kind of establish generally like their style, their feel for what they're looking for.
Right. And we get a variety of clients. Like someone might come in with exactly what they want or a very good idea of what they want. And then the next person might just be like, well, I need a logo that's red or something, like just very, very like small details. And then you just kind of have to lean into your own skill set and go based off of that. And kind of you're developing their brand and then hoping that they'll like it. It's kind of just putting yourself out there and being confident about what you know and what your designer's eye can see as good and bad sort of thing.
And then like, Jake always had us present our projects to the class. And that was part of the critique days is what it was always called. But as part of that, I feel like that kind of helped us in our work life because we have to get used to kind of not necessarily selling a client on it, but you have to be able to present it in the terms of for them to understand and grasp all the like little details that they may not fully understand. Like the fairgrounds logo, when I was doing that, like the little star in the A generally is right over where Webster County would be. And
I didn't even realize that.
Oh,
That's
really?
awesome.
Yeah, I added that in there. And once I explained that to her, she was like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. And, but like, you have to be willing to kind of sell your design too to the clients, which I think that really helped with having critique days with Jake because
Definitely. Yeah. No, I agree. I completely agree with that. And when you go even to a university, it's the same thing. It's critique after critique after critique because all of your projects all of your homework is project based. So you're kind of going for different sections of the semester. You might have like 4 different projects that you're working on the whole semester in 5 different classes. So you've got 5 different projects going on all at once and then critiques on every other day. And so you really get used to kind of selling your work and learning how to use the correct terms to describe it to someone and explain your design choices.
So this kind of almost sounds like what you guys are talking about. You almost have to create your own workflow when somebody's just like, I want this. And it's like, this is so much different. It's not like somebody's like, use this part of this software and these tools and those things from this chapter in this book. You're just kind of, you guys, not I, but you guys have to do this from scratch. Like, okay, if I have to do this first and I have to do this and then I have to ask them if this is okay. And then we have to sit down and I have to show them what I've done. You have to create all that yourself. Whereas like at school, I feel like that's kind of already done for you.
Which we have a form too that we give all our clients to kind of help navigate that a little bit. But I think I've found that the best way to go about that is just to sit down and have a conversation with the client because sometimes they don't go as in depth with the form as what you would like. And so asking specific questions might bring out something that you didn't really know or couldn't have gotten from a form. And I feel like a lot of this field, like after you learn the basics of how to use the software, it comes down to learning, your own flow, but learning how to talk to clients and adjust with the clients. So it's definitely challenging.
Yeah.
So when you came in, I mean, I can only imagine how.
I think the biggest challenge for me was just, and I'm still learning, is just learning the lingo and how to explain things to clients in a way that they'll understand because they're not used to the graphic design world. When you've been going to school for this, it's so easy to just have those words roll off your tongue and you're like, oh wait, they don't understand this. I have to kind of find a different way to explain it and maneuver it so that they can kind of get a better understanding of what you're getting at, and then they can give you an in-depth answer, which will then help you with your designs for them.
That makes total sense. I mean, like almost every field has that. Once you start using the lingo, it's like, all right, I'm lost. Like, whoa, the accrual basis, accounting, what you got to do. And it's like, wow, I'm already lost. Don't care. Like, even though, it's second nature to me, but your guys' graphic design lingo is second nature to you, and I'm just kind of like,
Right.
all right.
For accounting, you'd have to explain it to me like, a kid goes to the lemonade stand. He needs $5. Like, just explain it in like
You know what?
completely different terms.
I love those explanations. They're my favorite. They work for me. So
It's like, talk to me as if I'm a third grader.
Literally.
so what kind of skills? Let's flip flop this. You've got a different skill set that you're using outside of school. So you brought some of your skills from school to here. You got to build a whole new skill set around what you've got. But now you're going back to school. Are you going to be able to take some of these workplace skill sets and bring them back to school now? Is that a thing?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, I won't be working with clients quite as much, but I think just getting the objectives down and understanding what people like to see as a whole when you're displaying your artwork, for example, you have to make sure that people are going to understand what your main message is behind your art. And sometimes you can explain that, like if you have a title, sometimes explaining it a little bit in the title will help kind of bring the full message to your piece of art. But I found that being at a university and like your whole project is kind of based on creating art rather than creating something for a client. So it is vastly different, but also you can apply the skill set to kind of know what your audience likes to see and what is going to be more of a showstopper, I guess, if that makes sense, rather than just like, oh, I like this. This is what I like to see. No one else is going to understand it, but, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I think I'm trying to remember where I've heard it, but it was something along the lines of that, like an artist creates something where you have your own interpretation of it. But like as a graphic artist, we're creating something that people have to understand the message, where the message is straightforward. But how we convey it, we have a, strategy behind, I guess that's a good word for it, strategy behind why we design it the way we do, because the message has to be the clear point.
Right.
And it was kind of a cool thing that I don't remember where I found it, but I was like, that's 100% true, because I can't just design something so abstract that people are like, is that for an accounting business?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
They have to be able to understand and interpret the message exactly the way you want it to be interpreted. So there's kind of like a strategy behind a graphic design,
It has to be like simple and digestible while still somehow being original and unique. Kind of like putting the star in the Webster County Fairgrounds logo. It's like you could have just thrown a star in there and not worried about where it was at, but it's like over Webster County, yada, yada, yada. So like there's a point to it.
Right.
And it's not like you're just, I like stars, let's just throw a star in there. I don't know why I would do
I wanted
that.
to throw in a random shape.
I think that the main thing is that everything has to be very intentional with your design. It can't just be thrown around anywhere because no one's going to understand that. And if you have full intentions on where you're placing certain things, then it all kind of comes together in the end. And then it makes it so much more digestible and understandable.
Yeah.
It's definitely like designing with intent compared to just designing to create something. You have to be intentional.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, because art is kind of lawless, but, we're working for a business here. So, you got to kind of have at least
We have laws.
Yeah, there are rules here.
This is not the Wild West.
So how is working here at this digital marketing agency, Spin Market, how has it bolstered your confidence elsewhere? Like in your skill set, just kind of in your day-to-day life, anything, or going back to school even, because, you worked here for a while and then you started going to university. Has it kind of increased your confidence in what you've learned at Iowa Central?
Yeah, I definitely feel like learning the initial skill set of how to run an Adobe program at Iowa Central was critical, but then learning to apply it to being able to work with clients and also just developing the confidence working here and then bringing that into school next year, I think overall it kind of helps me feel like I'm more of a well-rounded graphic designer and I can confidently work with clients after school and just wherever I go with life, and I can apply the skill set that I've learned so much better than just knowing it and just, well, what do I do with it now? So I feel like I just have that confidence to move forward, and especially at UNI, I think when I receive like a new project, for example, I think I'll just be able to kind of hit the road and just develop those ideas and kind of develop the concepts for the art or whatever so much easier, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So like, as far as you're talking going to school, you went to Iowa Central, you're working here, you worked here last summer a little bit part-time. You're going to go to UNI. You're still going to probably be working here a little bit part-time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how have you been able to like manage all your time for all this? Because it's not like you just do school and work. You got a life too outside of work. You've got friends and
You do?
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Not
she
you.
has. You guys have played pickleball before. Don't lie. Don't lie to the audience
you know our
out there.
secrets
Maybe
now.
once, twice.
Might have hit her in the face with the racket. It's fine.
She's thought about it, definitely, at least.
So how's this like changed the way you look at time management?
I would say like I've always kind of enjoyed having a schedule, but I think that I've had to learn how to have a schedule and like go to my classes and then set aside specific time frames for work, but then also to just be lenient with it too. And, you know, when I'm clocked out, I'm like, okay, now I need to go spend time with friends or just have time to myself and just kind of have a more lenient schedule after the work schedule and school schedule. Like that always comes first, but then play comes after, I guess, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you haven't found yourself like doing so much school work and so much graphic design work here that it's just burning you out at the end of the day or not?
Yeah, I definitely believe that. Like if you show up 24/7 and you can only give 80% of you, but it's way worse than just being able to have that time to yourself and then give 100% to your work and school and everything else that's important.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like if you're given 100%, but it's like it's only like 80% of your capacity, you're not actually giving 100%. You're just doing your best with what's there. And
Right.
I mean, you really don't want to burn yourself out too hard working at some of this stuff. I think I almost think it would be hard to like keep track of everything. Like once you go to school, it's like I'm doing these designs and those designs, then I got to go to work and do these designs, and it's crazy that you guys can compartmentalize all this in your heads.
Yeah.
To keep the art separate. I think with me, it would all just mush together eventually.
It definitely gets to the point where I have to clean off my desktop because it's like literally covered. And yeah, you kind of have to start compartmentalizing mentally also on your computer. And then I think the breaks are important because doing work as a graphic designer and then also going to school and doing graphic design projects back to back, it can be a lot. So I think taking those breaks is really important and has been really important for me.
Yeah, you get really focused in on like a project. At least me. Like I, especially if I start a project and I just like zone in, and so I have to mentally like take a break if I have to switch projects because it's a lot for your brain to just be able to like flip and try to, now we're doing from a sticker for a little children's dental center, to, now we have to design something really like
A
serious,
website or
professional.
something, yeah.
And your mind is like, okay, now I got to flip my thoughts.
It's like completely changing track to something completely different. And it works like designing a website is so much different than designing a logo. There's so many different aspects to each of them and components that you really do have to like change your mindset around once you're switching over. And it's hard to like pull yourself away from specific projects, especially when you're like excited about it and you've got the momentum going and you're like realizing that this has been taking up my whole day and I just need to switch over to something different.
Or like the worst is when you're struggling to come up with something. Like for me, like sometimes logos and stuff, there's some logos that I'm like, I know what I want to do, but I can't get it to work. And so you get so like focused in on I'm gonna figure this out, and then you're like, no, I need to step away from it for a second and work on a different project, and maybe when I come back to it I'll be able to do it. You know,
that's why I think some of those like on-site photo shoots you guys go out and do, or like the video recordings you guys go out and do, like that's probably like kind of a distraction but a nice built-in break though too, where it's just like, all right, I did some stuff here, I'm going to go out, I'm going to reset, and I'm going to come back with a fresh attitude towards whatever this, because I've seen you guys like struggle over like, should we curve the edge of this letter on this logo or not? And I mean, you guys are like going through and picking apart every detail on these things. So I'm sure it gets exhausting sometimes when you do the same thing. Like, oh, we'll curve it this way. No, we'll make it a little bit longer over here. Well, no, we'll put the other thing inlaid into the letter here. So see what that looks like.
Megan loves showing me her projects.
Yeah. I walk into her office and I'm like, Mac, will you look at this?
That's always fun though, because it just kind of gives you a second set of eyes to spitball. Like, this is what I came up with, but also like, not me, but you guys. This is what you guys came up with. You're only one set of eyes, so it's nice sometimes to get a second opinion.
Well, I tend to be a little bit of a perfectionist.
I think that's the name of the game, being a graphic designer.
I really and I think it's actually worked out really great for this field. But I tend to notice things that to me just I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to fix this. But to other people, it's like, that's not that big of a deal.
Like they might not even notice it.
Yeah.
Or,
So I always like, I make sure whenever you like show me something, I'm always trying to make sure that you know that I'm like, you're doing a great job. So it's just like this small little thing that maybe let's adjust it just this little bit. But oh man, it's so like my brain's like can't switch between, I don't want you to feel bad when I like say, hey, let's tweak this. But I'm like, let's tweak this.
it's okay. I'm used to critiques and being at a university, especially. Sometimes you have to go in there and expect to hear the worst things you wouldn't have ever expected. I mean, no, I'm kind of joking, but usually it's not too bad at all. Like you just kind of get used to the critiques, and that's just, being a graphic designer, you kind of have to get used to that. But.
Yeah, you kind of get used to it, especially with clients and stuff, because sometimes they are vicious.
Oh, well, I mean, it comes down to if you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And it's custom made. It's like, I mean, it's the same way. Let's do it this way instead because I want it this way. It's like, and you just say, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it works out. I mean,
you have to kind of get used to it. I think it was definitely when you're first in the actual field doing what you're doing, and you get those clients that, sometimes they're just, they are just vicious.
you also
Which
mentioned,
we get it. Like you want it. It's your business. It's your baby. You put the time in to make this, this business work, and you want it to be successful. You want it to look the way you want it to look. And we get it. It's just me.
Is that something, I guess this is a question for you, but like, when you first started here, I'm sure that was very daunting. You were just like, oh no, what do I do? You almost take it personally when they critique your stuff. Is it easier the longer you go or the more you do it?
Yeah, I think, and again, I think it comes back to, and I've learned from, having that conversation from the beginning. Because I mean, when I would go in to design something, it was, hey, they want a new logo. Do it. And and I really have learned that just sitting down and talking with people actually really helps, not only with like figuring out what to do, but also with the communication between the client and you, because you can easily, they feel more comfortable around you to be able to talk out like the little things, and because you're more of a person then, like it's kind of like on, on social media that it's indirect, so you can just comment whatever you want,
Oh, yeah.
But I think it kind of it's like that same type of thing, where now that you've established that connection with that person, that personal touch to it, they tend to be a little bit easier to communicate with, and they're usually a little bit, I don't want to say nicer, but like they just communicate better. And that's nothing against, like, I mean, we have fabulous clients, so I don't want to make it sound like all of our clients are just so vicious, but no. But that's what I've learned, and I'm guessing that's something that you've probably picked up here already, but.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like once they kind of see the face behind it all, or hear your voice even, and they realize that you're another person, you're relatable, they understand that they can just talk to you now. It's not like it has to be some professional business thing and we know everything. Like they seem more.
It almost humanizes everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you and them.
And we're not a Fortune 500 company, so it's not like you call the phone number and it's like
scripted,
somebody from a different country at one time, and then the next time they're in a different country, because you can't get that personal, like we're us.
Yeah.
You call the number, you're going to talk to the same person,
Yep.
Email the same person, like you have direct contact. So I think that's definitely establishing that too with some of the clients, because some of them, when they go to like web designers, they don't know who they're speaking to.
Right, it's just emailing back and forth, and it might be a very scripted email that they're getting. And so a lot of times they might just kind of be like, okay, this is what I want, and then that's what they get, and then nothing else happens. Where I feel like we kind of follow up and like to hear back from our clients and make sure that they're getting exactly what they want, and then
we've worked with clients that they have to go through a specific website provider, but we've helped them out with like building the website and communicating what should be done to make it look better. And I get it. Like I would get being frustrated with people because I was getting frustrated with them because it's like you're not responding to emails, you're not doing what we need to do. It's like taking 5 steps to do one simple thing, and it's like I could do that in 2 seconds if it was like us doing it, you know. So I get being frustrated and not understanding that. That's why another reason why to do in-person conversations or Zoom or whatever, somewhere where they can see your face and actually like talk to you. It really has been a game changer that I've really been honing in on, trying to make sure that I'm having those conversations in person.
Not only that, but I feel like it also saves time too, because you
Oh,
kind of zone in on what they want specifically rather than just playing a guessing game based off of an email that they sent. Whereas if you call them, you might even be able to show them what you have so far and then go based off of what they get out of what you have so far.
Yeah, I mean, you guys could just like, it's almost like you're throwing stuff at a wall sometimes where it's like, well, I got these 5 logos. They're all completely different. Someone might be like, I like the graphics in this one, but I like the font on that one and the colors in this one. Can you combine them? And it's like, I guess it would have been nice to know this from the get-go, but you also don't know because they might not know.
What's worse is when they respond back with, I don't like it.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like,
you need more.
what do you not like about it? Is it the font? Like, because I've had people that they said, I don't like it. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to know more information. And sometimes it's just, I didn't like the font. And I'm like, let's change the font. And they're like, boom, love it. And then you're just like, but I need that communication. I
So
need
sitting
you
down.
to tell me what you don't like and what you do like. Even if it's like, I like this color, but I don't like the way the rest of it looks. But at least I know that you like a color. Like,
I don't like any colors. But I mean, that's, again, like you said, sitting down with somebody, like they're probably a lot less likely to give you a one-word response. Here, look at all these logos. What do you think? Neat. Like, I don't think somebody's going to sit down next to you and say that.
Yeah.
right?
So it helps out quite a bit. So let's go shift gears a little bit here. You went to Iowa Central, going to UNI now, or is next year your first year at UNI?
Next year is my second year at UNI. So
Yeah.
I just finished last year there. Technically, I think I was a junior since I was a transfer student. So senior
What was
year,
your grade point average? Just kidding.
4.5.
Wow, that's good.
Just to rub it in.
That good.
So what are the biggest differences between community college and a university? And then part 2, do you think being a transfer student has helped you out?
Yeah, I think definitely being a transfer student has helped me a lot because I feel like being ingrained into university rather than just throwing myself into it, which it works for a lot of people, don't get me wrong. And I feel like UNI is a small enough university that the class sizes aren't huge. And I think that was one of the main appeals is why I chose to go there also. But just like at Iowa Central, there was, I think, 6 or 7 people that I graduated with. And so you got to know them really well. But then switching over to UNI, it's bigger class sizes. So kind of just getting used to the college lifestyle and then switching over to that was kind of nice. And I think I was just excited to get the on-campus life rather than just go to Iowa Central, go home. And then, I mean, it works for some people. And I could have definitely stuck with that too. But
because you lived at home while you were going to school. Okay,
Yeah.
I was for
Yeah,
I was
sorry.
like, you didn't live on campus, and then I forgot how close you are.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's not too far away.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I both do have a little drive to get in here, but it's not too bad. Not
Yeah.
too bad. I mean, that's just Iowa for everybody out there. I mean,
Right.
everything's a 20, 30-minute drive away, like always.
And then Des Moines is like a whole day activity.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a 30-minute drive, but it's 2.5 miles away in Des Moines during rush hour or whatever. Yeah. All right. So, like, what about, like, networking, creating connections? We talked about making those interpersonal connections with the clients and things like that. Have you had the ability to do that at, like, a school level? You guys had both talked about an instructor you had that kind of helped critique some of your stuff. So do you have any of that, I guess, in the professional world or beyond? Has interacting with people here helped you see things in a different light as far as like networking and just like interpersonal relationships?
Oh, definitely. Like our boss, Cheryl, she does marketing. Obviously, she does the marketing. And so having someone's perspective on the marketing standpoint rather than just the graphic design point of view, it's way different. And getting that perspective helps you immensely when you're trying to actively take your work of art and then market it to the outside world. And then also I feel like I've been more in touch with the Fort Dodge community in general, like going to certain events. Like we went to Intentional Connections yesterday and we had an event in Fort Dodge. I think it was like a month ago or something like that. But just being able to connect with other people who are interested in similar things or in the similar job world has been really nice to make those kind of connections. Whereas I feel like at school, it's more bouncing ideas off of peers and just you're kind of with other graphic designers. So getting that variety outside of school has been really nice.
Oh yeah. I mean, you'd mentioned Cheryl, easily the most interpersonal person we have, like the best salesperson we have, the best at talking to clients. It doesn't matter what's going on. It's always the best. It's fun to sit around that and learn from that too. Because it's not something I have always been the best at, I guess, as a professional sense. I'm more of a sit in there and crunch the numbers kind of guy. I can put stuff in boxes and call that good, but it's neat to see how she does that and kind of have that help influence how I interact with other people as well.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely. So how's putting your work out in the public and essentially marketing yourself and your work, how has that allowed you to flourish in a professional sense? Or like even like beyond, have you like outside of here, do you look at graphic design differently? Like, do you see logos on restaurant menus and just be like, what are we doing here, people?
That's like the story of my life.
Like that is literally, I think every graphic designer at some point has that.
You get critiqued, but you also become a big critiquer. And that's probably the worst part, but also kind of fun because you can be at a restaurant and you're sitting there and you're like, wow, they butchered this menu. But it's like,
how dare they use a sans serif font here?
Yeah, but you guys have created menus and stuff like that for people. So it's not like you're just blindly just being like, this looks garbage. You've done it before, so you know you have the experience.
Oh gosh,
So let me ask you this: do you think some of that comes from like, does so again, I'm not a graphic designer per se like you guys are, because you guys are actually professionals at this, but it's like, is this one of those things where like this is passable, it looks fine, but I totally would have done it differently? Or are there some things where you're just like you said, this is butchered, it looks like somebody just randomly threw stuff in here and called it good?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. I think it's a wide variety. Like sometimes you're like, oh, I don't even want to look at this, and then there's other times where you're like, oh, and it's not bad. There's some things, and you might go through and mentally check off the list, like, oh, I would do this, this, and this.
I've had it sometimes where it's like the simple of it needed like a little curve on the line, like, and I was just like, that's gonna drive me nuts. No, and I stare at it every single time, like I could have done it better. Mm-hmm. Like you kind of almost get full of yourself a little bit, but and it's not in like a disrespectful way. You're just like, that's gonna bother me now. Mm-hmm. It's gonna drive me nuts if I don't fix it. Like,
I will sidebar on this just a tiny bit to kind of agree with you guys. Sometimes the photos of the food in the menus kind of gets me. I'm just kind of like, you could have done a better job photographing this. Not you guys, but like somewhere, because that was something I remember talking to you, Mac, like years ago. You were just like, oh yeah, we went and took photos for this place for their menu, and it's like, you took pictures of food? And it's like, well, I guess like there's pictures of food in the menu, someone had to take them. It's not like they just like went on Google and were like, burrito slam, here we go. Like,
some people actually do that.
I mean,
the sad part.
But that's the thing, is like, you start to look at that and you're like, I don't know if this is yeah. I guess I can kind of see where you guys are coming from, because sometimes just like you said, like the storefront, you walk past the front of it. It's like, if it doesn't look nice, you don't want to go in. It's like, if the burrito doesn't look nice in the menu, I'm not going to eat it.
Yeah. How you display yourself to the world as a business is really important. Like photography has a huge role in just marketing your business. Like your food has a certain look and feel to it, and people are going to, or not feel, but people are going to walk in and just see the menus and like, oh yeah, this is exactly what their food looks like, or this is my favorite menu item. And then it's so much more appealing to have great photography,
which they were always taught. And that was a big thing that I was taught with culinary and stuff like that, is that people eat with their eyes first.
Yes.
And so if it doesn't look good, why do you expect people to eat it?
Right. Yep.
And yeah, so I feel like, and there's nothing to diss anybody, but I feel like Mexican restaurants are sometimes the ones that I think about, like, 'cause sometimes the pictures just...
Yeah, but the colors are also kind of bland. Mostly,
yeah, they're like very like orangey,
or like it's just like,
I don't know how to explain
brownish
it.
gray colors in a lot of their food. So it's kind of tough to zhuzh them up, you know.
Or they like place them, but then they don't tell you what it is.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
my
Right.
biggest
Yeah.
pet peeve with
Mhm.
menus is that they put a picture on there and then it's like, oh, that looks so
I want
good.
this. I want this.
What
thing.
is it?
And you're like, what the heck is this? How do I know what it is? Oh, man. That's a biggest pet peeve with menus. And it drives me nuts every single time. I'm like, I cannot be the only one that
Yes.
struggles with this on a daily basis.
It's a disability, honestly. Sorry.
Oh, I love it.
Oh,
I
my
feel like we could go
gosh.
on and on about menus all day.
Yes.
That seemed like a hot button issue because it was the first thing I thought of for sure. So I'm kind of glad I brought it up.
I think definitely marketing myself to the world, even just in school, for example, like there was I think it was called the Curris Graphic Design Contest. And we had like up to, I think, 12 projects or something like that you could submit. And I just went through all my work and started submitting as much stuff as I could that I thought stood out from the rest. And I think a month later or so, I found out that I won the contest, which was very surprising to me because I was just kind of submitting what I had. And it was just kind of insane because now I get a display case in the fall next year, so I can display a bunch of my artwork to the university, which is really exciting. So I think just marketing yourself, even if you don't feel like it or don't think it's going to do anything, just do it anyways.
It'll
Because
do
you never know.
something.
It could open some doors and you could get scholarships and stuff like that.
I remember you mentioning that you had that display case, and I had like just thought about it before you started talking. I realized I didn't put it in the questions, so I'm glad you brought it up. That's really cool. We got an award-winning graphic designer on our hands here, ladies and gentlemen.
We're going to need to show up to you and I just to like see your little display case.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Take a picture of it it's like your first day of school pic.
Just awkwardly standing there with my backpack on.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's me.
So let's go back to workplace topics. What about like some of your favorite projects you've worked on here? Because you've gone through and worked on a lot of things in some capacity or another, either from start to finish or going in and kind of just changing some things up when somebody wants some changes or some refreshing done on some of their graphics or website or whatever. Like, what are some of your favorite projects you worked on around here?
Well, broadly speaking, I honestly feel like website design has been something that has advanced so much more for me as I've worked here, because when I started, I was not confident in my website design skills whatsoever. And then I've gotten tossed a few clients here and there that are like, they wanted their website done. So I got to work, and I think I just kind of realized like, oh, I can piece this together. It's kind of like creating a logo, but it's just much more advanced in like 5 different pages. And it's just, you have to be intentional with it. And I think I just kind of developed that confidence. So I think, like, for instance, I'm working on Riley Armstrong website, and I did do the Spin Market website, and that was...
I was just going to say, I was like, for anybody that doesn't know.
Yeah, so I designed the Spin Market website, and that was... I don't really remember how long it took. It was a bit of a long process, but then once the gist of it was kind of done, it was just kind of tweaking and editing here and there. But I'm actually, like, I really kind of enjoy how it turned out, and I think it was fun to take on such a big project. So I would say that was probably one of my favorites, because I'm in the works of the company itself, so I know what our mission, goals, values kind of are, and then I can apply that information to the website. So it's like a lot more personalized, I feel like.
And I know like it seems like it would be easier to do a website for here, but I almost feel like it's more challenging.
Yeah.
Because now you have in all, honesty, you have 3 different, at least 3 different designers that are now looking at this website, and you have to appease them. You have to appease Cheryl. Like, it's a little bit more challenging.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think.
definitely. I think when Cheryl said that I could redesign it, I was just kind of like, really, me? And I was just kind of like, are you sure about that? But then once I got started, the ball just kind of got rolling, and then I was like implementing all these little designs and details, and I was like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. And it was nice to get critiques from other people and just kind of base it off of that. But then I just kind of enjoyed that project.
You did okay.
I will say one of the funnest parts, 'cause, like, in talking to you while you were doing that, was like the overlap I have with what I do, which is mostly accounting, to what you do, which is graphic design and web design and all the business day-to-days. it was like, oh, well, should I reorganize this, or should I combine these pages, or should I put this over here? Can we put it in 2 spots, or should we even put it in 2 spots? And it was like, oh, you're talking about like making boxes and putting things in them, and that's like how my brain kind of works, you know. So it was kind of neat to kind of hear you, you know, mull over how you wanted to reorganize.
Well,
things.
and then having someone who's more of an analytical thinker and then a creative thinker, putting your minds together, it kind of works out sometimes, because you can see the reasoning behind why you would place something here, like.
Yeah.
And besides just the design process part of it, you also kind of are able to put your heads together and realize like the placement of things is really important too. So like, where do you put this navigation bar item or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like you guys are so entrenched in it, you almost don't get to, you can't shut off your graphic design brain and go into Joe Schmo mode. Where, like I am when I like look at your websites. I'm like, all right, I'm just a regular person clicking on stuff, and it's like, yeah, I can understand this website. I get it. Because, like, I'm not pointing fingers, but, like, the Webster County website before was very cumbersome. And we talked about that on our podcast with them, where it was cumbersome. It wasn't as easy to get around and find the things you needed. I found the stuff, but it wasn't as easy. And then when you guys redesigned it, you know, aces. I maybe that's me being a little preferential because I work here, but also I think it's easier to see. So...
Well, it's definitely a strategy puzzle piece type of job almost, because like we were working on a proposal for a client and for their website, and I remember looking through the website, I'm like, here's how I would reorganize it. These 2 pages, there's 1 paragraph on each page. Like, well, let's condense. Like this can all go into 1 page, you know?
Yep.
And I wrote out exactly how I did it and just handed it to Cheryl. It was like, this is what I would do if we got the website.
And when you, sorry.
No, you're fine.
When you kind of combine the graphic design aspect and then the analytical thinking, you kind of get into the whole user interface experience part of it. And that's when you really start to hone in on how is my client going to view this website? How are they going to navigate it? And then you just kind of have to view it through the lens of your audience. And I think that's one of the biggest part when you're condensing information like that on a website is this going to bog down my clients or people that are looking into the website?
Yeah, you have to have that combination of user interface and then like the user experience, like UI versus UX.
Definitely.
Yeah, correct. So you have to have like the design side to where it looks good, but you also have to have where it's the best experience for the client.
Functional too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you want to make it, I don't want to say like busy, but you want to make it like very detailed and intricate at the same time as being very simple and easy to understand. But you don't want it so busy that you get lost and you don't.
And there's so much like thoughts that go into it because I mean, the marketing side of it is the click out. Like, you don't want people to go onto your website and then a couple seconds later they're popping off because it's too much, too slow, whatever. And so there's so much thought that goes into it to make it, you know, as high quality, but also the speed to be as fast as it possibly can.
Right.
So that way you can easily switch between pages and you're not stressed out about why isn't this stupid picture loading? Like,
oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think just in the grand scheme of this whole conversation also, I feel like that's also the confidence builder that I've been talking about, is learning how all of these different functions apply into creating the graphic or website or whatever it is that you're making. Like, you've got your marketing, you've got your UI, UX experience, and then you've got the creative side of things. What does it look like specifically? And it's just all of those things functioning together. That is what I feel like I've learned coming into a work environment rather than just being at school where it's just focusing on the creative part of it.
That's awesome. All right, so we're getting close to the end here now. I gotta ask you, is there some time in your life where marketing has impacted you and you possibly didn't even realize it until it was all said and done?
Oof, that's a hard one.
Okay, good example for me. Like, I recently learned how to do a Rubik's Cube, and then on my Amazon, it was just like, hey, check out this Rubik's Cube. And I was just like, that's different than the one I got. And I just like bought it. And it was like,
oh yeah, the targeted ads are so scary sometimes.
They work
insane.
so good, which is also something that we offer something in that aspect here. So if you're looking to target some ads, hit us up.
Oh, like geofencing.
Hey, that was a targeted ad.
So how about
Targetception.
you? And you got anything that? Jeez, you got any? No, it's fun. You got any marketing that's like worked on you so well where you were just like, dang, they got me? Because I feel like most of us feel like we're impervious to it until after the fact. You turn around and look, and you're like, oh man, they got me. They done got me. It worked.
Oh, well, definitely Instagram ads. I feel like Instagram ads just always know exactly what I want and what sports brand I like, sort of. And it's just insane. Like, I click on them all the time, and especially Amazon ads. They do such a good job at that. Another thing that you brought up was the targeted ads that we kind of do, like geofencing, which is like within a certain radius, you walk into, your phone pops up with the ad that we created or whoever created.
Or if you search food, it's like, well, this food place has geofencing things, so like they're going to
yeah,
try and redirect you.
So like if we did a geofence around Fort Dodge and it was like, I don't even know, since we're on menus and stuff, all I can think about is Mexican restaurant. But so it's like a Mexican restaurant. So if you're within that vicinity, that region that we geofenced, we fenced in Fort Dodge. Anyways, I'm gonna shut up now. That if you're in that vicinity, you're more likely you're gonna get that advertisement popped up.
Targeted at you.
We're gonna target you.
So it's so fun to sit down and talk to you about this because, like, I feel like the questions when I ask everyone else, it's usually like the example I gave the last podcast was basically food because it's almost every time food ads work on me. And then even our guest was just like, yeah, you can just get done eating. And like, you're just like,
ice cream.
Yeah, this ice cream looks good. They just had a commercial for it. Now I need to go get a malt or whatever, you know, like way to go. So it's fun to actually hear you talk about like how it works on you, but also like the terminology. You're throwing in some terminology in there where it's like, well, this is the ones that work the best on me, and this is usually why. So.
It's funny because when you get into marketing and stuff, you know exactly how everything works, and you still fall for it. Like, it still gets you. But.
Okay, I have to ask, am I the only one that watches like a TV show or a movie and you see like, for instance, somebody drinking a can of Pepsi and that the logo just happens to be promptly showing, you know, like
I just think of
anybody
Wayne's
just
World.
go, yep, they paid
They
for
got
that.
They got him.
Wayne's World, he's like wearing an entire Reebok tracksuit. And he's like, yeah, some people are sellouts, man. And it's like come on. Oh, like he's like got a Dorito bag pointing right at the screen, like opening and eating. And like it's in the movie. Like, what are we doing here, people?
Yeah, like I think every single time I'm watching a movie and I see like some type of logo, I'm like, oh, they paid a pretty penny to be in that one.
Oh yeah. Or you see that like they
car.
obviously have a MacBook, but there's like a picture frame covering the Apple logo or something like that. Where like they didn't want to pay for that.
Yeah, they definitely didn't pay for that.
Yeah.
Or like the car, they promptly show like the front of the car and then they like scan up and you're like, yep, they paid it.
Or it's like on there just for like 0.5 seconds and they probably paid like a pretty penny for that too. And it's just like, wow, marketing is just insane. Like you can literally pay for your logo or pay for someone else's logo to be on screen for not even a second. And it's just,
It's wild.
It's just so funny to me. I love watching that stuff and just pointing it out as you go. And you're like, they paid for that. They definitely paid for that. Nope. They didn't pay for that.
We can't be the only people that notice that. Though. That's a good point, though. Like seeing that because they've been poking fun at that for a while. But like back in the day, marketing was almost like brands would like buy TV shows and they're like, the such and such TV show brought to you by, you know, ABC foot powder or whatever it is. You know, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of some random company, but like, you know, and it's like, wow, this whole show is like a plug for this company almost, you know, or like radio shows used to be that way, like soap operas. I think that's why they called them soap operas. It was soap companies maybe like sponsored them. And it was just like radio shows, if I'm not mistaken.
I have no clue, honestly.
I'd have to double check that. Fact check that for me, ladies and gentlemen. You got some homework to do.
Everybody who's listening in, check on that.
Prove Peter wrong.
Yes.
Comment on it.
Yeah, call in if you know the answer. All right.
All of a sudden your phone starts going off.
Well, I want to say thanks again, Megan, for sitting down with us. If anybody wants to come say hi and get some graphic design work done, just swing by, 10 North 10th Street here in Fort Dodge and come say hi to Megan. She'll help you out.
Ooh.
All right. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital.
Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market.
Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.
That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026, or visit our website www.spinmarketwith2ks.com.